Welcome to the press conference for In the Mood for Love, a gala presentation at the Toronto International Film Festival, directed by Wong Kar-wai. We're very thrilled to have the two principal leads, two extraordinary actors with us. We have, of course, Mr. Tony Leung, who plays Mr. Chow in the film, and Maggie Jung, who plays Mrs. Chow. Let me, since we don't have the director with us, Wong Kar-wai couldn't be here for their presentation, unfortunately. Let me perhaps ask the actors to speak for him and tell us about the development of the project, how it came to be, and when you became involved with it.
I think it's almost a year ago, and suddenly he comes up with an idea that he wants to make a movie about an affair. So that's how it started.
And I think at some point that he adapted the idea from a Japanese short story that is about two neighbors, and it's very much about the two people going up and down the staircase and seeing each other in the staircase, and that gave him the idea to have us as neighbors and with the staircase, and all the rest was just improvised after that.
Improvised by him or improvised on set?
On set by him. Both.
Well, can you tell us about the manner of working then?
Working with Kar-wai?
Yes.
I think it's very different from working for other directors because he never has a script, a complete script, and he just came up with an idea, and he used to develop the stories and the characters on the set.
And the project, yes, it was from start to end, it was about 15 months. But we didn't shoot the whole 15 months. It was on and off because we had a lot of technical problems. Because of what I just said, to find a set with two houses next door to each other with a staircase that he liked was very hard, and it had to look like it was from the 60s. And in Hong Kong, it's almost impossible to find a set like that. So that took a long time, and then the locations, he wanted to shoot in Macau, and at that time, Macau was having some political problems, and we couldn't go there, and then typhoons and people getting sick, just one thing leading to another, that the whole process took so long.
Why did he want to shoot in Macau?
I think because actually it's hard to find any outdoor scene now in the 60s. Yeah, very similar in Hong Kong. And so...
And Macau has a really beautiful hotel that he wanted to shoot there.
Yes. And that's the reason why we have to go to Thailand too, for the outdoor scene, because the building is much more similar to the 60s in Hong Kong.
Was there any talk at any point of building it in studio? I'd asked myself the question watching the film.
I don't think he likes to shoot in studios unless it's a real period film, because it has a very different ambience, in terms of sound, in terms of the whole feeling of the place. I don't think that was even considered studio shoot.
No.
Thank you. Do we have questions?
Good morning again.
Hi.
Far over with your jet lag already, or are you still sleepy?
No, still sleepy.
You're still sleepy, eh? Just one simple question. I know most of the scene is either in Macau or in Hong Kong. There was a scene in Singapore. Is it really in Singapore? The last part of the
Actually, we
film?
shoot that in Thailand.
You shoot that in Thailand?
Yeah. Actually, it was Hong Kong and Thailand, and not Macau.
Not Macau.
How
He gave
about-
up Macau.
You
in
gave
the
him
end.
Macau.
Yeah, we couldn't go.
Yeah. So it is in Thailand. How about the little hotel on the last part of the film? Like you are touching around the pillows and
That was
bag.
in Thailand
That was
also.
in Thailand also. Okay, thank you.
We had another question in the front, sir.
How did you work to get in the mood of Hong Kong in 1962? Because the film had this real sense of, saturated with an atmosphere of nostalgia in the past. And the costumes might have helped you, or music, or how did you get into that mood and stay in there?
I think we were first frustrated that the film just went on and on and on, but I think one good thing that came out of it was that because it took so long to make, we had time to really get into it, especially for myself, how I looked in the film, the hair, the makeup, the dresses. I had a hard time to deal with it at the beginning, but after like 9 months, you know, I got used to it, and everything became very natural to be like that. And I think it was the time that really helped me, you know, the process of the 15 months.
I think because of the scene of the neighbors, it recalls me the times of my childhood, because I born in the 60s, and it really gets me into that mood after that scene. I can still remember when I was a kid, the neighbors is very close to each other, and we know each other very well, and we used to go to the neighbors who played there every day, and we never close our doors. That's made me to get into the mood, I think.
Let me come back to the question of wardrobe, because so much care is given to it in the film, and both your suits and especially the dresses are just extraordinary. Can you tell us about how the wardrobe was developed, and perhaps a little bit more about how they contributed to the character?
I think William, the art director of the film, he has always wanted to make a film with Qipao, the Chinese dress, Chen Sao, because of the memories of his mother. That's what she only wore in the 60s, which is the same for my mother too, because I still have old photos. And I think it was his idea and his dream to concentrate on just Chinese dresses for the whole film. And in terms of the fabric, you know, he did a very good job in making them. But I think, and also because the film is so much about in-house, in the office, and downstairs, there were like just 3 or 4 sets, and it's only 2 of us. Different dresses helped the film to let us see the time passing in the film. Like it will sort of identify something like this is another day or it's another week, and that's why there's so many of them. Otherwise, it's very confusing for the audience. It's like you're always indoors and it's always nighttime. It's like, what's going on? Is this a scene directly from the last, or has time gone past? So I think that was also done for that reason.
Tony, what about your suits?
It's really tight and make me not easy, but it helps me to get into the character. I think it restricts my body language, maybe this kind of body language of the people in the 60s, and it's really fed me up is the hair gel. It takes about 3 days to get it off. even with dishwashing detergent. I try with that, and it can get it off.
Well, mine takes 3 days to set up.
And after I don't fed up with that, I know I get into the character already.
It's interesting. Did I hear you right? You said that the suits were very tight?
Yeah, quite.
Because both of the suits, I mean, you both look gorgeous in the film. This isn't a fashion show, but you do look gorgeous in the film. And yet it is this tension between the sexiness, but also the restriction. I mean, they restrain you, and at the same time they put you on such display and show you in such a complimentary way.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's pretty much how the people were at the time. And that's why I said after a while, from not liking how I looked in the film or having to wear the dresses because it restricted me so much, in the end it was that helped me to move the way a woman did in the 60s. Otherwise I'll be just exactly how I am, and you know, that's not very believable.
We had a question here.
This question is for Maggie. How do you feel about working with Warren again? And also the second question is, you haven't worked with him for quite sometimes already. Is it a bit hard to get used to his style again, his improvisation again?
Yes, because it's been a while, and I always knew that he worked without a script, and he always built the whole story around the characters, and that also with the mind of who is playing the character. So everything is built from zero, and from one scene it would inspire him to the next and the next and the next. And it took me a long time to really forgive him for being like that, you know, if you will. Because at first I really found that, why do you have to make films like that? Why can't you get it all prepared and then we start shooting instead of having 30, 40 people on set every day waiting for you to be inspired? But then after a while, I realized there's nothing I can do about it. That's his style. And to love him as a director or as a friend, you just have to accept that that's the way he is. And in the end, I think that's the magic of his films. You know, that's where it all comes from, because that's him, his character. And it creates the kind of sexiness or the spontaneous feeling in his films because of his ways.
Tony, did you share some of this frustration?
Actually, I don't have that kind of frustration because I've been working with Carl Wade for quite a long time, and I get used to his way of making movies. So actually, it's quite easy for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to think too much because I don't know anything about the story. So I just have to live in the character and just be myself. And that's all.
I think Tony had a better attitude towards that because he knew right from the beginning what's going to happen. He worked on his last film and the film before. For me, it's been almost 10 years since Days of Being Wild, and as Ashes of Time doesn't count because I was there just for 2 days. And that's why it took me really much longer to adapt to that way again. And I used to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Every
day.
Every day I say, what's going on? You know, what is my character? Can you tell me more? I just need to work on this. Give me some space. And I'll speak to Tony about that because there's no one else who can share that frustration with me. And he was just like, chill out, you know, relax. Just do as you're told and stop asking questions. I said, how come you don't care? But he says it's not about caring. There's just nothing you can do. And there's no point in asking because he'll give you an answer which will not be the answer in the end. He'll just say it to shut me up or something. So in the end, I stopped asking questions, and I found it actually quite easy to work that way when you just do it with your instincts on the set at that moment and just let it flow and not be prepared.
You mentioned Days of Being Wild, and in that film you have the same name as your character's maiden name in The Mood for Love. Did you ask Wong Kar-wai about that?
I think it came from me asking questions every day. Who is my character? That he, in the end, would say, "Oh, you're So Lai Zhen. You're the girl from Days of Being Wild." Okay. and actually, it was just a joke at the beginning, but it did become kind of a base for me to work on. Because once he told me that, it's like, oh, okay, at least this is something I can grab onto and build, and it really helped. And we both believe that it's possible that this girl, when she's 10 years older, she could have been this woman as well. She could have grown into this woman.
You can be anything in Wong Kar-wai movie.
You can be anything, but why not the same girl?
There's a question in the back, please.
Hi. You've mentioned that the movie is based on a Japanese short story. Do you know who wrote it or what it is?
We don't know. We just received two
It's like just it's that short, but it's really short, but it's very intense and it's a very good story.
Very sad story too.
Very sad. It's very chilling and just a few pages, very simple, about these two people walking up and down the stairs and having eye contacts, and that's all.
And then they killed each other. Committed suicide.
They committed suicide. It's a very, very simple story, but maybe we can get the information from Galway.
We have no idea of who wrote it.
Yeah.
Question over here. Madame in the front.
Welcome to Toronto. We'd
Thanks.
love to have you here. First of all, I guess everybody knows about Wong Kar-wai doesn't work with the script. But the script material that he gave you, I was just wondering, is there any consistent thing that he keeps telling you that, you know, him or her is supposed to be this or that? Or is there like a through line throughout the whole thing that you can actually grab onto when you work with him? or it's completely like
we don't have
wild?
anything to grab on, so that's why she has a lot of questions on the set, and the only thing we have is that story,
Right.
that story, and
We know it's a forbidden love. We know that it's about regrets, as usual. What else? Wasn't much.
and actually we did play two roles in the movie too.
Right. And also at the beginning, the idea was that we would play the husband and,
And wife too.
as well. We were supposed to do that. But in the end, because he liked our parts the way that it was going, that he didn't want to distract the audience by confusing them even more. Now are they the husband or are they themselves? So he gave up the idea. But that was one of the ideas.
He could have, of course, chosen other actors to play those two roles, but he decided not to show
Right.
the spouses.
Right.
What was the reason for that?
I think he wants us to understand more about the other character. I don't know why.
And I think also he wanted to magnify these two people. Like the audience will only see them and what is going through them. And if there are other characters, and suddenly the story will drift off to the other two. You know, he wanted these two characters to be is all you see in the film, and this is all it's about.
Thank you. Yes, sir, we have a question in front.
Just a question concerning, since he doesn't work with the script, was the movie shot at all in the chronological order, or did you jump back and forth between the end and beginning and in the middle? Or second question was also for Maggie Chung, considering your experience with the Western directors and the movies you did, like Irma Vep and Chinese Box, and with Western actors and directors, how does it compare working with someone like Wong Kar-wai and other directors that you worked in the East? So if you could answer those two questions, thank you.
First question.
Did you shoot it chronologically?
I think because he's inspired from one scene to the next. Like today we will do a scene, and what comes out of it will inspire him to write the next scene. So in a way, in his head, it is in some kind of an order, but it doesn't mean it's in order. Is in order because by the time he edits it, everything is like torn apart and replaced again, and the whole story is retold in a different way. So it's yes and no. And in terms of my experiences, I mean, working with Ga-wei is just natural to me because I've worked with him since his first film, and at that time he was very young and I was very young, and it's just kind of like part of what I've been through in terms of my career. It's more like what I have to do when I'm to adapt to work with Western filmmakers, which is, I don't think there's a huge difference because it's just the same thing in terms of making a film technically and what goes on the set. But every time you have to adapt more, it's the director himself and the actors, and that it doesn't matter if he's Western or Asian, it's the same thing. I think everybody are individuals and they have their own characters, and each time it's a new story, and it doesn't make any difference to me.
Madame, yes.
Another question. I know that Wong Kar-wai added a part of the documentary about the independence of the Cambodia. And the last scene is shot basically in a shrine, of Buddhist shrine, with the hole you are talking to. And with a French reporter over-voicing the documentary of the Cambodia independence. Is that a political signature of the director himself, or does he want to express something politically, or why this part is added to the last part of the film?
I don't think so. I think he just want to. It's just represent a period of time.
And also to expand the world, because the whole film is so much into like a microscope looking at these two pieces of dust in the world. You know, these two people can mean a lot when it's microfied, or they can be nobody. It's just another to nobody, and it's their own little story. But when it goes to the end of the film, he wants to like draw back the whole thing and tell us the world is big and there are other things going on, and what is happening to them is just something very personal and small. But, you know, it's like zoom in and zoom out.
There was another, perhaps slightly political reference in that the film, the final sequence takes place in 1966, at the height of the Cultural Revolution. You don't understand why, but I assume this is the reason why a number of the neighbors have left. Is there a political intention?
I don't think so. No, it's just about the society, the world itself, you know, what's going on in the world. But I don't think he wanted to pinpoint on anything political or to a certain subject. But it so happened that was the time. And if it wasn't this, it would have been another piece of news. It's like, you know, a few years has gone by and this is what's going on.
Let me come back to the final coda in a way, and that takes place in the temple in Angkor Wat. Was there ever any idea of including you in the final section?
Any idea?
Did he ever consider including you in the coda of the film, the final section?
I did shoot a scene with Tony there that we haven't seen each other for a few years, and we bumped into each other there. But the scene was cut out.
But that was a great scene.
It was a nice scene. It was very touching
The best
because
scene, but not
the best that I was
but
in. Damn.
but not in the movie.
No, but it's just about crossing paths again. You know, fate has it that we crossed paths again, and we just said hi. And there was one great line that he asked me right at the end of the film. Did you call me one time? And I said, I don't remember anymore. And then the film ends. It was kind of very beautiful. But I don't know why he cut it out.
I think
I
it's
have
very
to
sad.
ask
I want
him.
to cry when I speak that line. I really want to cry. It's very touching.
Me too. It's like I don't remember anymore. It's like, you know, it's just another way of this woman letting it pass and kind of telling the audience that it's over. You know, I got over it, and that's very sad.
One thing that may be less sad is that Wong Kar-wai in an interview suggested that he might put some of the deleted scenes, the scenes that he dropped from the final version of the film, on a website. So that may be seen, or the sort of thing we could see perhaps on a DVD version of the film.
It's bound to be longer than the real film itself.
Yes, Madame, please.
The first question is, Wong Kar-wai used to cut out a lot of scenes. Do you find it frustrating? And the second question is it easier or harder, more exhausting in working with a director like Wong Kar-wai, a director with no script?
Well, it can be frustrating if, especially you've done a scene that you think, you know, it was a good scene. But then I think in the end, because of the way that we work, I really feel I'm part of the building of the story because we're all together in this to build the film. And I think what's more important is the result of the film. I mean, it can be an ego thing for myself that, you know, I wish that was in it because I did so well. But at the same time, if it's not the best for the film, what's the point? You know, and I can always do it another time.
I won't feel frustrated because I never expect anything from him. So no matter what he cuts out, I don't care.
I think it's really if the film is good in the end.
Yeah. So
Then it doesn't matter, really.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Could you each talk about working with the other person? I think, you know, if I in my head could cast a dream cast for a Chinese language film or any English language film, I would pick you too. But do you find that you have different ways of approaching certain scenes or working together? What kind of things does each of you give the other that you discovered while working together? And do you have any plans to work together in the future? Please, yes.
You go.
actually, Maggie is very professional, and I feel very nice working with her. Very comfortable.
And another reason is because we've known each other for really a long time. Because we worked on this TV soap 15 years ago,
Yes.
when we were very young, and it was actually
Not
quite
very.
I was at least, and it took like 4 or 5 months to make. So at that point in our lives, that we spent 4 or 5 months really intensively together, but then having this reunion now is like meeting a new Tony, because after 15 years, we've grown up to be not different people, but we're older and wiser, etc., etc. But it's great working with Tony because I think he's a very sensitive guy, and to have your partner being sensitive is very important for me, especially in a film like this, and especially a lot of it has to do with improvising. You don't want to have this macho, solid, great-looking guy, but he's like just there, stands on your foot or hits, etc. I think it's about understanding each other, and also because we're so different as people, our characters really different. He's very laid back and whatever.
Very
quiet, and I'm like, let's go, yeah, boom, boom, boom. And I think he can relax me a little because of the way he is, and maybe I can give him some energy in the way I am. I don't know. It somehow just works.
You just push me too far. Sometimes.
But I can't help it. That's the way I am. And we actually will be working with Hu Xiaoshan next in November, if that's going to happen. At least that's the plan for now. And something very different this time.
Something modern?
Something modern,
Yeah.
and we're bad people this time. And he's my ex. So maybe we need to do another one in the future that they got together first. It's like suddenly they never got together and he's now my ex.
We've missed something in between.
Yeah.
Tony, I don't know if you want to give us examples of when Maggie pushed you too far, but
No, because she's so aggressive on the set. Sometimes
I'm not.
you're very aggressive.
Am I?
Yes. If not, you won't ask that much questions.
But I need to know.
Sometimes you need to be
Yes,
carefree,
now
easy.
I know with Galway, but with Galway I know you need to be like that.
Yeah.
Now I know. But then at some point, because I haven't worked on a film without a script for a long time, and it's just hard, and I want to do well. And I always feel that if I knew what I was doing, I can input a bit more and maybe help, and add things and be more creative with the director. But that's why I was being very pushy. But on other sets, I'm less because I have a script. In my mind, I know exactly what's going to go on. So I don't ask any questions anyway.
Yeah. But sometimes I think too many information will restrict your creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's why Kawai take this kind of way of making movies.
I can appreciate that now after this one.
were there moments, there must have been moments, can you give us examples of when one of you surprised the other one in your performances? Since you were improvising.
Since there are surprises all the time, I can't pinpoint to a very interesting one.
All right, you can come back. We'll take you off the road. You can come back to that. We had another question in the front.
Another question. I think everybody have seen the film, agree with me that the film has a very smothering mood all through the whole thing. It's like you went out of the theater, I need some air, that kind of feeling, right? And I know that it was 15 months in the whole making of it. Do you have problem getting out of the character or getting in, getting in and out of character, especially you, Tony?
You mean throughout the movie?
Yeah, because it's such a smothering role, like everybody's so formal, so restrained, and as if like nobody has some immediate reaction. You have to process your feeling first before you react in a very polite way towards everybody. So, and that's not really what we do in nowadays in like year 2000, right? So do you have a little bit of a problem getting in and out of character since you've been in the film there for like 15 months in the shooting?
I have no problem to getting in the character, but I have problems with getting out.
That's why I'm asking.
Because it takes so long time, and if you have to keep the continuity of the character, so you can't get out, and you know, and you don't know when will he shoot again, because we are shooting on and off, and so you have to, you know, keep the mood throughout the whole shooting. So that's it.
I was depressed for 2 or 3 weeks after the whole thing, because also this is a very special situation, because 1 week after the shoot we were literally in Cannes doing the premiere, you know, going up the red carpet. So all that was really a lot for me. I wasn't out of the character yet, and I just got back to Paris. I had 3 days at home, and then I was packing for Cannes. And before I knew it, I was answering questions, doing the premiere, and accepting the reactions of the film. Meanwhile, I haven't even had it, you know, gone inside me to figure out what the story is, what kind of film I've just made. And all that was like boom, boom, boom. And right after Cannes, I think I had the anticlimax. It's like, wow. And I have the feeling now I have no more obligations. I don't have to get up at 5 in the morning anymore for a 3-hour hairdo. It's like, I didn't think I would miss it, and I didn't miss it, but it's kind of, it made me depressed for a little while to think, now what am I going to do with my life, you know? And I started to plan other things, and that gradually made me forget the film, and I just kind of went on. But I had this anticlimax feeling. You didn't? No.
He's still in character.
Maybe.
There was a, yes, Madame, please.
Another question. I know you have a dancing scene. It was cut out from the film. You are dancing twist. Are you improvising, or just the music, or the directors want it, or you two just dance?
I think we arrived on set that day and he told us we were dancing.
Yes.
We didn't know beforehand.
Yeah,
and he
I
brought
didn't know.
a teacher on set who taught us right away how to do it, and we shot the scene. That scene was fun, actually. The only fun scene in the film, that you see these two people laughing.
What kind of dancing was it?
It's like a twist.
Ah.
Yeah.
Twist.
How
It's a
did you know
twist.
that?
I read from the paper in Hong Kong. They satellite to me 2 hours back, and then they say it was cut out, and it was like a story of things because it's so much fun. I think it would be spectacular to see you guys
Right.
dancing.
I think one day Gawai is going to put together a making of for the film, and he will put these scenes in. That's what he has in mind anyway, if it happens or not. Yeah, me too.
Questions? Well, the music in the film is quite different. There's nothing like it in the film that sounds like the twist or anything you would twist to. But can you tell us a little bit about the music, which is so haunting, and which keeps coming back?
I think from what Gawai told me that he's very influenced by, he has very strong memories of the radio from the 60s when he first went back to Hong Kong, because he's from Shanghai, and he would listen to the radio, and at that time there were a lot of Latin music on the radio, and the Mandarin pop at that moment. There weren't any Cantonese songs. So I think all that is from his childhood memories of the things that he heard. And yeah, because it's hard for us to really answer for him. He was the one who chose the music. And
Tony, I don't know if you have anything to say to the music, but since you're well known as a musician yourself.
Actually, I'm not a musician. I'm just a freelance singer, part-time singer. But I found the music very, very strong and very impressive.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Can we have the mic in the middle, please?
Another question, because back to the feeling of improvising and building the film day by day or shoot by shoot, do you feel in any way collaborators as creators on the film? Do you feel like there are parts of you that you gave to the film that are in there?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, purely because I don't think the film would have been the same if it wasn't us. Galway would have still made the same film, but the characters would have been different because the characters in the end were inspired by us. Although I wouldn't say I'm exactly this woman or I'm like her, but there are elements about her that from his observations of me, it became that. So definitely I do feel, there's my blood and soul in the film.
I agree.
You're so lazy. Do your work.
Questions? Please.
I love the films of Wong's, and when I understand the first films to the very present one, it's very suppressive. No characters is very expressive. Is it a message, or he's used to be like this, or his personality is a reflection of his suppressiveness, or is he talking about a very classical Chinese in the way of dealing with emotions and feelings? Can you talk about that? It's very suppressive.
Very suppressive.
No one has been very happy since his very first films, as far as I can remember. So.
If this is an exam, I'm going to get 100 points. I've got an answer for this. Tony, I want you to answer.
Because
I really have no idea why his character is so suppressive. I don't know why. Maybe because...
Maybe it's a reflection of the directors himself, or...
Maybe.
This is the special genre that he has been working on so far, or...
Maybe this kind of characteristic of the Eastern people, of the Chinese. It's more suppressive, more restrained.
Less expressive in terms of love and feelings and emotions.
Not that straightforward.
Not straightforward. So do you think it's a reflection of a traditional Chinese...
I think so.
Yes, thank you.
Does the director resemble his characters?
I
dare not to say.
Well, I mean, is he like that? Is he is controlled?
He doesn't give the impression, but I think he is.
He's very cool.
He controls his emotions quite well. And also, adding to your question, I think that's what he finds his sensuality. I think, that's where the sensualness comes from for him in his movies, is because he finds it more sensual that you don't express than to, come on, baby, let's do it, It's just another way.
No, there's tremendous tension, erotic tension.
Yeah, I think he likes tensions.
Questions? Thank you very much for joining us to talk about the film. It's a lovely film.
Thank you.
Thank you.